911 operator, what is a call that got you the chills? Call came in around 6 a.m. in the morning. Teenage kids had gone downstairs to find their father collapsed on the kitchen floor. Per his son, he was unconscious but still breathing. Per protocol, I confirmed their address, sent the case to dispatch, and stayed on the line. I had the kids turn him onto his side into the recovery position. I reassured them. For a couple of teens, they really held it together. I told them to monitor his breathing. They said he was still breathing, kind of. And that's when I heard it on the other end of the line. That wasn't breathing. That was the death rattle. Agonal breathing. That was the first time as an EMD I'd heard that awful fucking rattling sound in a live environment. God help me, may it be my last. In an instant, I upgraded the case. This was no longer an unconscious patient, but somebody in cardiac arrest. Dispatch was notified. I saw additional resources being attached. I told the two teenagers, in a voice that I hope had even a fraction of the composure they exhibited, that we needed to roll their father onto his back, that we needed to commence CPR straight away. I work in a job where you have people in their 20s and 30s calling you up screaming, hysterical, and utterly inconsolable because of a fucking headache or a cut finger or a sore back, and yet these two kids, barely into their teens, were pumping away at their dad's chest without hesitation, working in tandem to perform the best damn CPR I've ever heard over the phone in my 6 years as an EMD. All I could hear in the background as I helped them keep pace was their father's rattling breathing. I'm not religious, but you can bet I prayed to God Almighty to just let this one live. Please, for fuck's sake, just let these kids keep their father. Is that so much to ask? At least give the guy a chance to say his goodbyes properly. It was only when the sirens in the background drowned out all other sounds and the crews confirmed they were at scene that I quickly told those kids how proud I was of them and disconnected. I made it a point of mine to never follow up jobs like this, but curiosity eventually got the best of me. I found out a few days later that the guy had passed away. I wish I had never followed up. Wife just shot herself in the head. Husband wasn't sure if she was beyond help, so I have him start CPR. At this point, I'm assuming she's gone, but I want to give him something to do and be able to look back and feel like he did everything he could have. While pumping on her chest, their kid, who is about 10, walks in. He starts trying to have the kid help, so I tell the kid to grab a towel and apply pressure to the wound. I'm telling a child to hold pressure on his mom's self-inflicted gunshot to her head while coaching the father through CPR. The kid was super focused. Dad was about to lose it multiple times. When medics arrived, she was viable. They transported her. I just assumed she didn't make it, but there's always a chance. We rarely get closure. As a first responder, we suck at letting our dispatchers know the outcome. You get what we give on the radio, and we continue about our business until we complete the call. If you know your first responders, just send them a message and ask. I try my best to incorporate the dispatchers so they can get that closure too. Thanks for what you do. You are literally our lifeline, and we couldn't do it without you. Guy who had just shot his friend with a crossbow because his friend said he could dodge a magic missile in D&D. The guy was laughing about it up until the point when the cops came and arrested him. I'm wearing boots of escapement. Well, magic missile never misses. It was a year ago. A father called 911 stating his 2-year-old daughter wasn't breathing. I had tried to instruct him on how to do CPR while I got the ambulance out there. He kept refusing and telling me he didn't know how, besides me insisting I would help him do it. He told me that his daughter had fallen down the stairs 2 days before the call and that he didn't know what was happening. The mother was screaming in the background. I started to get nervous due to the fact that it was 2 mins into the call begging this man to do CPR on his baby. He gave the phone to what I'm assuming is the sister of the mother, and I gave her instructions on how to attempt to revive this little baby girl. I told the officers something was going on with this, and I didn't feel right about it, and they get there, and I never knew anything until the news a few weeks later. The father and grandmother were arrested for murder on this little baby. She passed away due to consistent abuse by the father when the mom was gone or at work. I never forgot that call. Saw a program where I learned an ambulance has to be called for what's referred to as someone's final journey. Basically, they're taken from their home when they have days, weeks to live, to a hospice to live out their final days. What really got me is that I was expecting a really frail 90-odd-year-old guy who could barely move or speak, etc. No, it was a 80-ish-year-old guy who's completely with it, losing his battle with cancer. He was just getting himself ready like he was going out on any other day, getting dressed nicely, doing his hair, fussing about the house and other stuff, joking around with his wife. This was the last time he would see his home, the last journey he would make, and it's like any other day. And although it was nice to see how well he's dealing with everything, the reality is just heartbreaking. One day he's telling the paramedics how he used to design motorbikes and remembers all the details and is so passionate about it. Within a few weeks, he will no longer be alive. Not 911, but alarm dispatcher. We monitored for an assisted living tower, kind of halfway between independent living and a nursing home, and one night we started getting fire alarms. 1 apartment unit to start, then 2. It quickly multiplied. We sent the fire department on the first alarm per procedure and got no answer at the front desk of the place since it was after hours. After 1 or 2 updates on the multiplying alarms, I waited to get disposition to find out if we had a real fire. It certainly looked like it. The alarms seemed to be coming in sequentially from room to room and floor to floor. The thing was, it didn't stick to just fire alarms. We also monitored the dedicated medical alarms in these apartments, and they were lighting up along the same pattern. We report those to FD Dispatch too, so I was at the limit of what I could do. When I finally got an update, it felt like my chair was spinning. Yes, there was a fire in this apartment building, and they were trying to put it out. There were even some legitimate medicals, but those were most likely people signaling that they were trapped in their rooms. The other possibility, and it was impossible to tell the difference unless you were a firefighter on scene, was that the medical button or pull cord mechanism had melted and sent a signal as it died. We watched for way too long as that building sent up ghost alarms no one could do anything with but wait out, hoping if there was a finger on the button, they'd be found. CW, mental health, suicide. First party caller calling from a train station platform, suicidal and threatening to jump. Whilst on the phone, I pull up the timetable for that station and see there's about 20 minutes till the next scheduled train. Responders are about 20 minutes away. This is going to be a tight one. Not even 10 minutes later, he says he can hear a train coming. I can hear the background noise from the guy moving closer to the platform edge. He says he's going to do it, then I hear the train's engine as it approaches. Clearly it's not due to stop there. Then I hear the horn, some rustling, and the sound of the phone falling before the line drops out instantly. Immediately tell dispatch that it sounded like he'd jumped. Try to call the number back, not expecting to be able to get through. It rings. After 5 or 6 rings, he answers. Tells me that he got scared and couldn't do it. Then he says he's climbed down onto the tracks to make sure he doesn't chicken out again. Fortunately, once he tells us he's on the tracks, we can contact the rail signaler. They don't do anything for reports of threatening to jump from a platform or at a level crossing. But if there's a reported trespasser on the line, they'll put the trains on low-speed caution. Police arrive about 5 minutes later and convince him up onto the platform. He was detained for a mental health evaluation, but he lived. My blood ran cold for those 90 seconds where I thought he'd gone though. Not the worst I've had to deal with, but the others don't fit the question as well as this. I am a police officer and sometimes take emergency calls. One day a woman was calling me, but at first she didn't speak to me. She was addressing another person in the room and told him repeatedly to put the gun away. That was her first sentence, and I instantly was like, oh shit, this is serious. Luckily, the woman was able to speak to me and told me in which area she was and to whom she was speaking to. With this information, my colleague was able to find out the address and send officers there. In the meantime, she told me she had her little baby and her husband with her. Our conversation repeatedly was interrupted, with her telling the other person to put the gun away and not shoot her. Every second I was afraid to hear a gunshot in the aftermath. Luckily, the man let the family go outside his house, so after a few minutes they were in a safe area. Turned out the family visited an old friend to show their newborn baby. The friend then got confused and couldn't recognize them anymore, maybe because of some form of dementia or something like that. He thought he had intruders in his house, so he went to the bathroom and took his gun. This took place in Germany, so guns rarely are a thing here. After all was cleared, my hands were shaking. Edit. I had completely forgotten that when the family was outside the house, the woman told me that the man did make a call a few minutes before, asking another female friend to come over the house. And when the family ran away, the car from said friend was passing them. So I was relieved for a minute that the family was safe, only to assume that another person was now in the house with the crazy gunman. Luckily, the friend wasn't threatened and was able to secure the gun and talk to the officers on scene. She was also able to bring the man outside so he could be arrested without much hassle.